you know, when I think about the future of IoT, I get frustrated because, you know, IoT not scaling, and that's what we are going to talk about, especially in the B2b area. It's a topic that keeps me awake since 2017. Yeah, I have a lot of sleepless nights about a very hard nut to crack, and I don't have the solution. And yeah, today I'm going to share my problems with you. And maybe you have the solution for me. So the future of things. Yeah, last time I was not allowed to have a job title under my name during the meetup because of a certain colleague. So I thought, let me skip the job title this time as well. We're going to talk about B2b Iot today. So sorry, friends of not just a jewel if you are here. But last time I talked a lot about your solution, which is more consumer related. This time I'm going to talk about B2b Iot, and I want to start with this example. We all have, or most of us have, a heating boiler in our house. And we also have it in our corporate buildings. We have central heating here. So somewhere here in the Hoopram office there is a heating boiler. And installation companies, maintenance companies of heating boilers, they're stuck today. Why are they stuck? Because in the modern West, in Germany, in Netherlands, in the United Kingdom, in Scandinavia, we have been building something which we call a knowledge economy since the 70s, or maybe even since the 60s. So we have a lot of people, like me, who can make PowerPoint slides and stand on stage and tell stories. And we have less people who can do stuff with their hands. Yeah, today we had an install fest during the afternoon to make IoT together, and we had 8 visitors, but it was still very cool. And now we have 30 or 40 visitors because we're going to talk about IoT. And that's what heating installation companies are struggling with. They cannot find people who can fix the heating boilers. They cannot find people who can install new heating boilers. So they're struggling with scarcity. Today, when a new customer comes in and asks the heating boiler installation company to install 10 new heating boilers, which will bring more profit, more revenue, they will say no, because they don't have people. Why? Because the people that they do have drive around to do yearly checks. Because the existing customers, they have a contract. And once a year, the maintenance company needs to visit those customers to check whether the heating boilers are functioning, whether something needs to be fixed, right? And 9 out of the 10 times, nothing is wrong. So they have people driving around for no reason, and at the same time, they sell no to new customers. Yeah, but the solution, it's there. Because one of our customers of IoT creators, InSmart, made a device, and the device is amazing because it's outside the heating boiler. It works with heating boilers from different manufacturers. Yeah? And if you connect it to the heating boiler, then the heating boiler installation company, they know every 5 minutes, because it sends data every 5 minutes, everything about the heating boiler. So when it needs to be fixed, they know it already. And they also know it when they don't have to drive around for a yearly check, because they have all the data. So they can do more installations. Instead of doing yearly checks, they can now say yes to the new customer and get more profit. The technology is proven. It's already running for a couple of years. It works. The business case is evident. All the installation companies that are trying it out right now, it's approximately 10 or 11 are trying it out since 2019. They are very happy with it. Yeah, the technology is proven. But there are also some people who are not happy with it. And especially the middle management. Yeah, because the head of maintenance at the heating boiler installation company is like, hey, we need less maintenance. So I need to shift people from my team to the team for fulfillment, because we can do more installations. So he will become more important because his team will grow and my team will, it will become smaller. My position, you know, it will become weak. Yeah, so the head of maintenance is not super happy with this solution. And the head of sales, you know what some salespeople said at those installation companies? I'm selling heating boilers already for 20 years. And now you also ask me to sell software on top of it because you need an app for it, right? And I don't want to sell software. I don't want to change. I don't want to learn new stuff. Yeah, and the supervisor customer service, he gets less inbound calls because customers do not have to call to report a problem. They already know it. Luckily, they don't have to fire customer service employees. But what they did ask from the customer service is to reskill, focus more on outbound calls instead of planning appointments. Do something like retention and improve the customer engagement and customer loyalty. And they are scared because they need to become more commercial. Instead of planning appointments after picking up the phone, they need to do something with the customer relation. And they are scared to reskill because today they are doing an okay-ish job. Yeah? And now we are asking from them to do an awesome job. But, you know, if you take the risk to do an awesome job, you have to go step out of your comfort zone. And then usually most of the people, they're afraid to make mistakes, you know, and go from a okay-ish to doing a very bad job. Yeah. So everyone, especially in the middle management at those installation companies, has a reason to slow down IoT transformation. Yeah, and this is what the solution provider InSmart, who made the solution, told me 1 month ago. 1 month ago, we had a meetup in the Netherlands, and then they told me about this problem. Their end customers, they do not want to change. Yeah, but to be honest, in 2017, there was another solution provider. Some of you might know them because they were part of the LTM prototyping program of UPRAM. And they made this very cool sensor. You know, railways are made of steel. And in these hot summers, you know, when the temperature increases, it's very dangerous because steel, you know, it extends when it's very hot. And then you get dangerous situations. Trains are getting stuck, it's super expensive. And they are sending groups of people to risky locations of the railways to do checks, whether they need to take measures. But there is a solution for that. There is an app for that. Yeah, it sends data also every 5 minutes. You don't have to send people anymore. But same problem at, you know, the railway management companies. Middle management didn't want to change, and they don't want to change today. So that was in 2017 when he started with this solution, and he told me, Dual Inventive, I'm going to sell 50,000 of these sensors in Austria and 60,000 in the US in 2019. But in 2019, he came back to me, and he said to me, they don't want to change. So this was a problem of B2b IoT already from the beginning, and today it's still a problem because the coffee machine use case similar to the heating boiler. Predictive maintenance, not sending engineers outside to drive around to do, you know, stupid checks. You know, same problem. The technology is proven, the business case is proven, but people are scared to, you know, to reskill and change the way how they work. You know, and most of these end customers, they are today still trying to figure out how to move their CRM data from you know, a local server to the cloud. So they are very far away from IoT transformation. Yeah? And other companies are still trying to find out which tools they need to use for working hybrid, the new normal, working remotely and working at the office. Yeah? Also, if you still are trying to figure out how you need to work in this digital world, then you are still very far away from IT transformation. So I just showed you why most of the B2B end customers, they do not want to scale IoT today. And I already knew this in 2019, as I just said. Yeah, and today, still the same problem. And what I did notice already from the early beginning, that there is another audience which is super interested in IoT today. So the end customer at the railway management company, Deutsche Bahn, Lufthansa, the heating boiler installation company, they don't feel the urgency for IoT transformation yet. But the hardware developer who's making the solution for the coffee machine vendor or who's making the solution for the heating boiler installation company, they made it their mission to learn everything about their customer. They talk to people working at the railway industries every day for a couple of years, and one day they will be the first ones to know what to do to get all those middle management on board and scale IoT. Yeah? And the good thing for Deutsche Telekom and the semiconductors and Vodafone. And when I say semiconductors, I'm referring to Qualcomm, Nordic Semiconductor was here, Quectel, u-blox, and other operators, but also Nokia, Ericsson, and Huawei. There is a big opportunity for us when it comes to those hardware developers because they need us. They need connectivity. Yeah, they need our services to get started with IoT. Yeah. So instead of chasing those big companies, you know, like Deutsche Bahn, Lufthansa, it's our job, if we want to do a good job in IT, to, you know, help these hardware developers. So I said that also a couple of years ago to colleagues in the telco industry, in my chats with Nokia, with Ericsson, and with Quectel, but also with Orange, because we were partnering with Orange when I was still working at T-Mobile Netherlands. And everyone was like, yeah, I see the benefit of working with hardware developers, but also in our industry, in the telco industry, middle management is afraid to change. You know, the head of strategy is like, I'm used to feeding the analysts. I have a team who sends information to Gartner and McKinsey, and now you're asking me to do some real work to help IoT solution providers with their vision. But I'm not used to do that. Yeah, sales, you know, one thing that I like about Nordic Semiconductor and why I'm a fan of them, and not because they're here in the room, but they are very developer focused, and they just told me, Thomas, you know, he's a sales colleague of Nordic Semiconductor, but his background is an engineer. He knows how to connect an IoT device. Most of the operators and semiconductors, they don't know how the technology works. And if you ask the salespeople in the telco industry to change their skills to become more technical, they become afraid. Yeah, so also, not the end customer is not only ready for IoT, but it looks like the telco industry who needs to drive IoT, the telco industry is not ready for it yet. So I already said that this topic keeps me frustrated and that I'm going to share my problem with you. So maybe this is the last time that colleagues from Hoopram will ask me to do an IoT speech. But I'm just wondering, you know, there was this motherfucker in the US in the 70s. His name was Milton Friedman. And he said to come back from the oil crisis, all companies should consider shareholder value as the most important value. It's more important than customer value. It's more important than purpose. Yeah. So since the 70s, we have been building this culture that shareholder value is super important. Yeah, extrinsic motivation. Yeah, most of the people have learned since the 70s that if you go to work, you do it because you need to buy a house, need to pay your mortgage and pay your car. That is the main reason to go to work. And I really believe that for innovation, so not only for IoT, we need to start working based on intrinsic motivation. And I'm just wondering, do we also need another 3 decades for that? Or maybe another crisis that really creates some urgency? And that's my topic for today. Thanks a lot.